Mr. President, on behalf of the citizens of the Denver metropolitan area, I'm honored to welcome you to our city. Thank you for the opportunity to host this event. Working together with the White House, we have created what we believe will be a historic Denver Summit of the Eight. We believe that we will do you and America proud. As you know, our home started out as a home to pioneers and to miners of the Old West. Their spirit still exists as we ride into the spirit of the New West today. The New West is entrepreneurial, much like the Old West pioneers. The New West is the cutting edge of high technology with companies like TCI. Denver's New West still recognizes that a handshake is as good as a person's word. And clearly, the New West, like the Old West, is about progress. Progress that has put Denver as a leader in global scientific and technological advances as we head into the new century. But there's one other important theme that ties both our Old West heritage and our New West image. We are a community that helps one another. We know that for the community to succeed, we need to help individuals succeed. We never lose our Old West integrity, hospitality, and helping hand attitude. And we as a country have much to be thankful for. Our economy, like the rest of the nation, is doing very well, due in large part to the optimism that you, Mr. President, has helped to restore. Consider this. There have been 31,000 new jobs created in the Denver area between 1992 and 1996. The unemployment rate is a low of 4.3. We could not have achieved this economic success without the efforts and commitment of our president. A president who believes that our kids can succeed in school only when their environment is safe. A president who believes that government can partner with business to create growth and opportunity. A president who has helped to spur our economy with bold trade initiatives and a commitment to re-energize the American workplace. But more than that, we have a president who truly feels that America is the land of opportunity. As our local and national economy continues to thrive, we as a community also have to give each other a pat on the back. A true partnership between private business, government, and the citizens of Denver have helped to create an international airport, one of the world's most technologically advanced airports in the world. We have invested in each other through convention centers, Coors Field, light rail, and many other projects that have helped to create a level of economic vitality. That has helped to make our city and our metropolitan area one of the best in the world. That partnership is done in conjunction between public and private, between local and state government. We would not have been able to achieve our success without the leadership of one of America's outstanding governors. Would you all please join me in recognizing my friend, your governor and my governor, Roy Romer, the governor of the state of Colorado.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. President, I couldn't be more proud to be here today because I know what your initiative has done for Colorado and for this city. You are bringing the leaders of the free world here this week, and it is an amazing thing that's happened in our lifetime about the tensions of the Cold War to where those leaders will be in our city working with this president, thinking about what is the new economy of this world. What is the way in which we can help each other to share in that economy? And Mr. President, I am so proud of you because that economy, that information age economy, is going to be driven by knowledge, skills, and ideas. It's not how much iron ore we ship across oceans now that determines our economic health. It is whether or not we can develop the human potential of all nations to reinforce skills, ideas, and knowledge, because that's what's going to produce that economy. And I got to tell you, this president has been on the forefront in his work with educational reform, his work with bringing standards of excellence to education throughout this country, in his budget in which he has put a high priority on investing in our ability to continue to learn. I think we in Colorado are a good illustration of what that economy of the 21st century is. You well know that we are at the top of the list in most economic indicators, but we will not stay there unless we pay attention to how we raise our children and whether or not we're going to create communities in which they can acquire that skill base, that value base that will continue that economy and continue the quality of communities. It is this which we celebrate by you bringing this leadership group to our community. And I now want to introduce the person who will introduce a couple of youngsters. Christy Schloss. Christy is an illustration of that new economy. She's an engineer and an environmental advocate, and she is the head of a 99-year-old Colorado-based engineering equipment design firm. And Christy is not only excellent in her profession, but she has served Colorado and this nation well on a number of assignments. Christy, I would like to ask you to give our next introduction. Christy Schloss.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Governor Romer, for those kind and generous words. I must say that in none of my wildest dreams when I was one of the few women engineering students at the University of Colorado did I even remotely imagine being on the same stage with three world-class leaders in economic development, Mayor Wellington Webb, Governor Roy Romer, and President Bill Clinton. You know how they got here, but you don't know how I got here. Well, I'm here because of the economic leadership of these three individuals. Mayor Webb, your vision for the city and county of Denver, a vision that emphasizes redevelopment of the inner city and reinvestment in our infrastructure, is a vision that has reestablished Denver as the Queen City of the High Plains. So much so that we stand here today on the advent of hosting the world's most premier summit of presidents and leaders. You are justifiably proud of all of us in the Denver and Colorado area. And Governor Romer, your commitment to a statewide investment in our own children, in our own education, in our own job skills is legendary. And it is what has allowed Colorado to excel in helping its own citizens create and fill thousands upon thousands of jobs in homegrown areas year in, year out, both big business and in small. In addition, Governor, your prescient recognition that a truly great state in this truly great nation can grow its economy only if it positions itself at a crossroads of international trade, technological innovation, informational access, and educational excellence has resulted in big corporations like TCI and small firms like mine both prospering. Of course, the economies of Denver and Colorado exist in the context of the national economy, and it is the leadership provided by President Clinton, Vice President Al Gore, and the legions of energetic assistants that they have appointed to serve them in the field, assistants like Tom Redder and Joan Copeland of the Small Business Administration, that has allowed our national economy to not only prosper, but to prosper in the best way through the creation of higher quality, higher paying jobs, jobs that are sustainable, jobs that are technology-based, and jobs that will help churn the economy even more. My story tells it best. Schloss Engineered Equipment is over 99 years old, and through 3 generations has always been small. And when you are a small boat in the same sea with large ships, every new wave of technological advancement, every changed wind of economic conditions, and every storm cloud of recession can potentially sink you. But we have succeeded. How have we done this? Frankly, through the availability of an educated workforce, the access to technology, increased access to foreign markets, and access to capital. During the last 4 years, our small companies with big ideas, a company that started out nearly 100 years ago by introducing technology to the gold and silver mines in the very mountains that you see to the west, a company that today custom designs and manufactures technology-based environmental equipment for markets in the US, Malaysia, Taiwan, Egypt, Israel, Ireland, Venezuela, and many others, has increased our job base by 400%, our revenues by 250%, and our exports by 900%. We credit this success to the small business dividend paid by the economic policies of the Clinton administration. Because of this administration's commitment to deficit reduction, interest rates have plummeted and stayed low. Once the government stopped competing with business for investment dollars, the cost of money fell and millions of small businesses found it possible, many of them through the SBA, to access the capital that all entrepreneurs need to start and grow small businesses. Because of this administration's commitment to eliminating trade barriers, our access to foreign markets have increased dramatically. This administration made it possible for small companies like mine to compete successfully for a piece of the $200 billion international environmental technologies market through the use of the Department of Commerce, the SBA, Exim Bank, co-located in the Denver's U.S. Export Assistance Center in concert with Colorado's International Trade Office. Finally, like all employers, our real key to success is our access to the community college, university, and lifelong learning opportunities that have been advanced by this administration and that are enhanced by affirmative admissions policies without which I would not even have had the chance to compete, let alone win on the brutal battlefields of international business. President Clinton, thank you for continuing to support educational opportunities for all, and in particular for women and people of color. It's working. And on behalf of my late grandfather, thank you. And on behalf of my late grandfather, Doc Schloss, my father, Chuck Schloss, and myself, I especially want to thank you, Mr. President, for continuing to be the most pro-small business president in history. And who knows, maybe the next time you're in Denver, you tour a huge complex with thousands of employees. It'll be the Schloss Engineered Equipment Complex. Meanwhile, have a wonderful summit. The future of small business in America could not possibly be in better hands. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce two very special guests from the Curtis Community Project, Robert Pinckney and Erica Gaddison.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert Pinckney and this is Erica Gaddison, and we're both from the U.S. West Technology Center at Curtis Park Community Center. And we're glad you are in Denver, Mr. President, and we're glad you've worked so hard to get computers and internet access for everyone. We learn a lot of things that will help us in the future. We know to find things on the internet that will help us in school. We have a card for you with our internet address, so you could write us sometime, and your own shirt, so you're an honorary member of our center. We appreciate you coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Mr. Bill Clinton.
Is this for me? That's for me, too? Thank you very much. First, I want to thank Robert and Erica for reminding us of what we need to do to make sure all our children have the tools they need to succeed in this new global economy, and indeed for reminding us about what most of our endeavors are about. I think they did a good job, don't you? Let's give them another hand. Thank you, Christy, for your very kind words and even more for the power of your example. I want to thank my good friend Mayor Webb for being our host. And he and Mrs. Webb have been good friends to Hillary and me over the years, and I'm thrilled to be in Denver. I thank my friend and former colleague, Governor Romer and Mrs. Romer. Among other things, Governor Romer is recognized as the most important governor in our country on the subject of education, which is something I want to talk to you about today, and I know you're proud of what he has done. I thank the host committee and the honorary chairs and vice chairs of the Denver Summit. I thank Representative Diana DeGette, who is doing a good job for you in Congress and came down with me today. City Council President Kathy Reynolds. I'd like to thank the National Digital TV Center and Leo Henry and David Beto, who showed me around to this remarkable place, a some of you may know that I'm sort of a, to put it charitably, a movie freak. My wife used to say that I would watch anything that came on the screen if it started out and it was obviously a movie. And inside I saw 35 movies being digitalized and sent out over various channels, and I almost didn't come out, but I couldn't bear to think of you going through this. I want to thank all the people here from the Curtis Community Project and the Mouse Campers, and thank you for being here. And I'd like to say a special word of thanks to a member of my cabinet, your former mayor, Federico Pena, who just became a father for the third time just a couple of days ago. You know how much he loves Denver, and he thinks this is important, or he wouldn't be here, although he's here with permission, I might add. I want to thank the Director of Summit Affairs and the Executive Director of the Summit, Harold Dickey and Debbie Wilhite, and their great team for what they have done. And again, Mr. Mayor and Governor, let me thank you for the incredible support that Denver and Colorado have given to the Summit of the Eight. I don't need to tell you why we really came here. Denver is a city that America can be proud of, a city bursting with the promise of the new century that is upon us, with the most educated people in America, a city that has increased its exports to the rest of the world 60% faster than the rest of our country in the last 5 years, a community that has, as has been said, once drew its wealth from mine shafts and factories in the land, now thriving on telecommunications, aerospace, banking, computer software, and the magnificence of its environment. Over a century ago, Walt Whitman wrote of the Colorado pioneers, "All the past we leave behind. We enter a newer, mightier world." Today, the men and women of Denver are cutting new paths. In this very building, the product of our culture is transforming from analog to digital, from yesterday's technology to tomorrow's, beamed to satellites that gird the globe, seen by billions around the world. When the leaders of the world's leading industrial democracies arrive here for the Summit of the Eight, they will be struck not only by the breathtaking beauty of the Rockies, but by the powerful optimism of a city both proud of its past and focused on the future. With our summit partners, we'll have an opportunity to cut a new path to that future, to work to deepen and extend the benefits of the global economy and protect people more against its downsides, to reach out to bring new partners into that economy from Africa to all other parts of the world, to spread democracy and human rights around the world, and to meet new dangers of our common security that cross all national borders now: international crime and drug trafficking, terrorism and the spread of weapons of mass destruction, the emergence of infectious diseases that can sweep the globe, and environmental decay that embraces us all. We host our partners at a time when America's economy is the healthiest in a generation and the strongest in the world. Our economic success is a strategy that all of you have participated in. It is born of the dynamic center that has kept America moving forward for more than 2 centuries. A new American economic approach that required us to puncture myths and push past yesterday's stale debates, that enabled us to move earlier and more strongly than most other nations into the new global economy. In 1993, we put in place a new economic strategy designed to help America move from the industrial to the information age, to move into a new century and a new millennium with 3 very simple but profound goals in mind: to make sure the American dream is alive for all of our citizens, to make sure our American community is growing more united even as it becomes more diverse, to make sure America continues to lead the world for peace and freedom and prosperity. Our economic strategy had 3 elements: reduce the deficit, invest more in our people, open the world to our trade. We had to move past old ideas to embrace new thinking, to craft new approaches to achieve all 3 things. First, we had to go past the old idea that if you reduce the deficit, it would be good for the economy in the long run, but it would be sheer misery in the short run and bring on a recession. Well, in the last 4 years, the deficit's down 77%, from $290 billion to less than $70 billion. But instead of recession, our economy produced a record number of jobs in a 4-year term, over 11 million, and now we're over 12 million and still counting. Now we must decide to stay with that strategy, with a balanced budget that will help interest rates stay low, produce more capital for private business, and even greater confidence in the American economy. I'm pleased that our balanced budget agreement received overwhelming support from big majorities in both parties in both houses of Congress, and I look forward to signing into law a balanced budget that is consistent with the agreement and our values before the year is over. Second, we had to go by the old thinking that a nation couldn't bring down the deficit and make its government smaller while still investing more in its people, its future, and its environment. And that we could not bring down the deficit and give people the tools they need to succeed at work and at home, and to maintain an adequate social safety net. But by spending less and spending smart, we were able to increase the productivity of our government. We increased our investment in Head Start by 43%, spent nearly $1 billion more to provide children and their mother with the nutrition they need so that all of our children will be able to learn when they enter school, set aside funds to help states reduce class size, began school-to-work programs in all 50 states so that we could work in partnership with business to help young high school graduates who don't go on to 4-year colleges keep learning and find good-paying jobs. We opened the doors to college wider than ever with more scholarships, more work study, more affordable college loans. We put more money into the National Institutes of Health to spur new medical discoveries and cures, and invested more in research to keep our lead in communications and technology and environmental protection. And we did it and cut the deficit by 77%. It's not how much you cut, but how you cut. Not what you spend, but where you spend it. Hundreds of government programs, thousands of government regulations have been eliminated, and so help me, not a single American citizen has come up to me and said, I just can't live without that program or that regulation you got rid of. The government is 300,000 people smaller than it was the day I first took office, but because we had no mass layoffs and we worked with the Federal Employees Union in partnership, we have seen the productivity of government go up, and the people have been able to go on to other productive careers. I'm proud of that and proud of our federal workforce for making it possible. We have focused not on new guarantees, but on giving people new tools to help families make the most of their God-given potential. And we have shown that you can give people more opportunity for economic security and still make the economy more flexible and more adaptable. People said that when we adopted the family leave law, it would hurt the economy, but it didn't. They said that when we raised the minimum wage, it would hurt the economy, but it didn't. They said when we passed the Kennedy-Kassebaum bill saying you couldn't lose your health insurance because someone in your family got sick or because you had to change jobs, it would hurt the economy, but it didn't. We were able to provide greater access to health insurance for self-employed people, greater pension protection and availability, tax incentives for business to invest in high unemployment areas. It all helped the economy. If you help people succeed at home, they will be more productive at work, and the country will be stronger as a result. But we have to finish the job and balance the budget. The new balanced budget agreement continues this strategy of cut, invest, and grow. Its centerpiece is education and investment in people. It has the single largest increase in federal support for education since the GI Bill was passed 50 years ago. Its base is a national commitment that every 8-year-old ought to be able to read independently, every 12-year-old should be computer literate, every 18-year-old should be able to get at least 2 years of higher education, and every worker should be able to keep on learning for a lifetime. Our program includes the America Reads Initiative. We're trying to mobilize 1 million volunteers to work with schools and parents all across America to make sure every child can read independently. And that's important in a country where we have so many children whose first language is not English. We owe it to them, and goodness knows we need every single one of them. Their brains, their spirit, their energy, their self-confidence. Our technology literacy initiative will work with schools all over the country to hook up every classroom and library to the internet by the year 2000. We owe it to our people to make sure that by the year 2000, 2 years of college is just as universal as a high school diploma is today, and the tax incentives in our program will do that. We will open the doors of college to all Americans for the first time in the history of this country. We also have a proposal to put skill grants in the hands of people who are unemployed or underemployed so they can go to the nearest educational institution of their choice and get the education they need. And we recommend permanent tax deductions for employer contributions to the education of their employees. When a company goes out and invests its money to help their employees continue to be productive and something that will benefit them, whether they stay with that company or move to another one, they ought to be able to get a tax deduction for it. I hope you will support this entire educational initiative. It is good for America. Second thing we do is recognize our special obligation to help people move from welfare to work. We now require people to do so if they're able-bodied within a certain amount of time, but if you're going to require them to do so, you have to protect the children, pay for child care, make sure the jobs are there when the welfare runs out, and that is in our budget, and we are committed to passing it. The third thing we've agreed on is a tax cut designed to grow the economy, help people get an education, and give middle-class families tax relief. We can do a lot of things in that tax cut, and I hope we will. When I became president, for example, we talk about the new economy. There were 3 million people making a living out of their homes. Today, there are over 12 million. Within 5 years, there will be 30 million. We ought to have an adequate home office deduction for those people. We ought to have the kind of small business credits that will enable them to continue to expand. I don't know what the final shape of the capital gains tax will be, but I believe we ought to give more benefits for people who start small business, capitalize them, and then stay with them for 5 or 10 years and create jobs and do the kind of things that you heard Christy talking about today. That's what I think we ought to do to benefit people with that tax. Now, all the countries in the world face the same choices we do. They're having to decide, can they reduce their deficit and still invest in their people? Can they target people programs? Can they maintain a social safety net? And to be fair, a lot of countries have more generous benefits for child care than we do. They cover all their children with health care, and we're going to cover half of those without insurance in this budget agreement, and I won't rest till we finish the job. They do more than that. Can they still grow their economy and reduce spending? You bet they can. Every single country can have the same impact, but you have to be willing to break through those old myths and old ideas and engage people in a committed process to get to a common goal. The third thing we had to do that we still are fighting is to reject the false choice between protectionism on the one hand and unlimited free trade opening our markets with nothing in return on the other. Protectionism is simply not an option because globalization is irreversible. If we try to close up our economy, we will only hurt ourselves. We have too much to gain from opening markets, and besides, we know we can outwork and outcompete anyone, especially if we maintain our technological edge and educate all our people. So what are we going to do? Are we going to take the lead or wait for others to blaze the path and get the primary benefits? We have decided for the last 4 years to take the lead, but we have to decide now. Are we going to do more or less to cushion the negative effects of globalization while still opening markets? Are we going to do more or less in trying to push in new areas where other countries are more protectionist than we? Are we just going to sit around and try to close up our markets? It seems to me difficult to imagine that this is even a serious debate now. In the last 4.5 years, we've become the world's leading exporter. In the last 2 years, over half the new jobs coming into this economy have paid above average wage, and we have the lowest unemployment rate in